Today it's AI. So AI stopped being this abstract future of work thing and it started showing up directly in how markets, companies, and workers are behaving right now. So let's start by looking at software companies. This is the NASDAQ. It's made up of a whole bunch of big tech. Big tech's killing it. Earnings haven't fell apart. So that's not why there's this sharp downtrend on this chart. It's actually because software stocks, who's trying to figure out the AI story, they have products who are most vulnerable to AI disruption. Like I said, it's not because their earnings are actually pretty solid. It's because more and more people are wondering the same question now. If AI can do half of what these tools can do, and it's going to keep on progressing and getting better and better over time, why do I need all of these tools that all of these companies in the NASDAQ offer? And if I don't need these tools, what happens to all of those companies? And where do the people go that work there? What happens to them? And you don't need to be an economist to read that and kind of put two and two together. The market is putting a price on job security. And then think about Fed Chair nominee Kevin Warsh. We know this guy wants to cut rates. His reason's a little bit different than you'd think. It's not stimulative. He wants to shrink the Fed's balance sheet. He wants less Fed involvement over the economy. And to kind of offset that, he wants to cut rates. Because technically, he's tightening the economy. But then, in terms of AI, and the reason we're mentioning this now as we talk about AI, it's because he believes AI to be this deflationary force. Which, yeah, that sounds great in theory, but that logic only works where you get lower rates and less price pressure if AI is making some workers way more productive and making the other ones not needed. So that's the trade off embedded in this AI equals deflation story. It's not free at all. The cost is disruption, and you can see that showing up in the psychology. So Indeed ran this poll, and it says that AI adoption is now the top concern for job seekers out there. So that used to be burnout. Burnout was the long running number one worry, but you can't burn out of a job if you get automated out of it first. So you've got this weird combo where markets are cheering AI as disinflation, then at the same time, workers are also seeing AI as this risk to their paycheck. Now let's see how that's showing up in the hard data. So today we got JOLTS data. This is job openings data. And economists were expecting to see this number come in at about 7.1 million openings. That's after the prior month 6.9 million. Instead, what we've seen for job openings, we've seen that continue trend down, coming in at 6.5 million in December. So that was a miss to the downside. Less job openings. That's down 386,000 in 1 month. That's down 966,000 over the year, and it just happens to be the lowest since September 2020. So that's a clear cooling going on. And then the job openings rate that came in at 3.9%, basically unchanged. Professional and business services lost about 257,000 openings. Retail trade lost about 195,000. Finance and insurance lost 120,000. So fewer new roles being posted exactly where a lot of white collar AI exposed jobs live. And as far as hires, what we see, hires were 5.3 mil, hire rate at 3.3%, little changed. Real estate and rental leasing actually saw an addition of 38,000 hires. State and local government ex education, that added 36,000 hires. And then for federal government hires, they lost 11,000 openings. So what this is saying is that companies aren't going on this full hiring freeze across the board, but they are slowing the rate at which they're creating new opportunities out there, especially in those service heavy and office heavy sectors. Now, come back and look at separations. These are people who are leaving voluntarily or involuntarily. Total separations came in at 5.3 mil. That's basically unchanged. Inside of that, quits were 3.2 mil, quits rate 2%, unchanged. Layoffs and discharge 1.8 mil, that rate of 1.1%, also little changed. So people aren't quitting in mass like they did back in 2021 and 2022. Instead, just workers are more cautious and they're seeing fewer openings as they're seeing these AI headlines that are kind of scaring them. And as a consequence, they're not as eager to jump. So the Jolt snapshot is basically fewer new jobs being posted, but no mass firing wave, at least yet. And these workers are more cautious about quitting, and white collar sectors are showing cooling. Now, then come over here and then you look at jobless claims data. So, for jobless claims, this is the real time stress gauge. Initial claims were expected to come in around 212,000. Instead, they came in at 231,000. So that's up 22,000 from the previous week's 209,000. That's a miss to the upside. So more people are filing for jobless claims, jobless insurance. And then the 4 week moving average was 212,250. That's up from 206K. So that's a noticeable uptick in new people filing. But the insured unemployment rate, people still on the benefits, is 1.2%. That's unchanged. Continuing claims are at 1.844 mil. That's up 25,000 from the revised 1.819 mil. The 4 week moving average 1.85 mil. That's down 14,750. Lowest since October 2024. So more people are getting laid off at the margin and they're not piling up in the system yet. So they're still kind of cycling through and finding something just a little bit more slowly than usual. And former federal employees and newly discharged veterans claims are both down versus the prior week, which tells you this is a broader corporate behavior. Now, then let's stack this on the Challenger Gray and Christmas report. So, this is the Challenger report, the layoff announcement data. And in January, 108,435 job cuts were announced. That's up 205,000 from December's 35,553. That's up 118% from January 2025. And that's the highest January total since 2009 and the highest monthly total since October 2025. So these are plans that were mostly set at the end of 2025. You got these CEOs were looking into 2026 and not feeling super optimistic. And then you look by industry, transportation, 31,243 cuts, almost all tied to UPS and them severing ties with Amazon. You look at technology, 200, that's 22,291 job cuts in January. This was mainly tied to Amazon. So these are big tech companies influencing these numbers. Amazon announced 16,000 job cuts as it flattens its management out and kind of restructures a little bit. Healthcare products, we've seen 17,107 cuts, worst since April 2020. Hospitals and providers dealing with high inflation, high labor costs, lower reimbursements. Then you come down here and look at chemical, 4,701 job cuts. Mainly one big Dow Inc. announcement explicitly citing a shift to AI and automation. Even media, 510 cuts. That's down from last year. So news specifically just 65 cuts in January. So that's the lowest January since 2022. So media pain is actually easing out a little bit in this data. So the new pain that we're basically looking at is transportation, tech, healthcare, and then some industries like chemicals. Now, why are companies cutting though? So Challenger has a spot for that, and it breaks down all the reasons. The first reason is due to contract loss, with a little under 31,000 being announced. That's the biggest reason. Market and economic conditions, that's slightly under 29,000 cuts. Restructuring, that's about 20,000 cuts. Department store unit closings, that accounted for almost 13,000 cuts. And then the thing everybody zooms in on is artificial intelligence. AI was cited for 7,600 job cuts in January. That's 7% of total cuts for the month. For the month. So in 2025, AI was referenced in 500. That it was referenced in 54,836 announced layoff plans in 2025. And since 2023, AI has been cited in 79,449 job cut announcements. plans, which is 3% of all layoff plans over that time. So AI is not this majority of layoffs story yet, but it's showing up more and more as this explicit justification on why we should lay off. And AI isn't the true driver in every case. You get these executives who know the market likes to hear efficiency and automation and AI, but tariffs cited for 294 job cuts in January. That's down from 7,900 back in 2025. So tariffs are still a drag, but it's not the main story in this particular month. That might be up and down. You look at hiring plans in this Challenger report, and hiring plans for January, there were announced 5,306 planned hires in January. So that's the lowest January since Challenger started tracking, being in 2009. So that's down 13% from January last year. That's down 49% from December's 10,500, pretty much. So then you put all of this together, announced layoffs, that's the highest January since the financial crisis, announced hiring plans, lowest January on record, and together, that's not an awesome combo. And then we also heard from Raphael Bostic. He's from the Atlanta Fed. He came out talking about inflation, and he's pretty much like, hey, look, inflation has been too high for too long. The Fed wants inflation back closer to its 2% target. We all know that. The PCE measure is still running around 3%, way closer to 3% than the 2% range, so that's not looking good. And Bostic's point of view is that high inflation forces households to shorten their planning horizon. So instead of thinking about starting a business 5 years from now and contributing to the economy, they're thinking about how they're going to pay rent 2 months from now, which that hurts investment, that hurts risk taking, that hurts hiring. So for Bostic, it's mainly important that policy stays moderately restrictive and holding that line long enough to make sure inflation actually comes back down as something that's doable to work with, which they want that 2% target. Which that's similar to what we heard from Lisa Cook, because she said the Fed is convinced that inflation problem and worry, it's not fully solved. And when they weigh the risks between the danger of inflation staying sticky and the labor market suddenly collapsing, they're leaning towards the inflation side of things, at least until today's data dropped. I wonder what they're thinking about that. And next Wednesday, we'll get the BLS jobs report to give us more insight on what's going on. But that all makes this data that we're looking at weird and awkward, because job openings are dropping and announced layoffs are spiking and hiring plans are the weakest January ever. Jobless claims ticked higher. So the market is going to keep on asking, how long can the Fed keep it this tight without breaking something more visible? So it's no wonder that stocks are moving the way that they're moving. I mean, 9 out of 11 S&P sectors today fell on the labor data that we got, and maybe the AI concerns. I mean, you never know. They're playing back to back on that. Where's the S&P at? SPY. Yeah. So this one's still trending down in the after hours too. So the drop in job openings, the layoffs, the hiring slowdown, all of that recent soft landing optimism is kind of fading away. And the pain wasn't evenly distributed. So the real hit was in the software companies. So that's why we had the NASDAQ on screen earlier. Google was down like 4, 5, 6%. It actually ended out the day barely down on the day. But man, it's these software and AI uh, adjacent names. That's a word right there, adjacent. So it's not about this last quarter's earnings, because those all look fine. The companies, they got massive cash flow. A lot of them got tons of cash on the balance sheet. It's about the fear that AI systems will render entire categories obsolete. So then you start thinking about enterprise software, and then consulting and data analytics and legal services. Pretty much all of those high margin, high headcount businesses that AI tools like Anthropic's Claude Opus and Google Gemini and OpenAI's ChatGPT, all of those are aiming at replacing. It's the cost side of the AI is starting to take a bite at these tech companies who are spending billions of dollars on these data centers to just, light money on fire because it's not profitable yet. So that puts pressure on cloud providers like Amazon because their customers are these AI businesses, and any slowdown in cloud growth suddenly raises questions. Is this AI surge sustainable, or are we looking at another dot-com bubble? This early bubble behavior. We even have a report that Amazon is in talks to invest up to $50 billion in OpenAI. So that's a massive bet. And to offset that spending, AI, or my bad, Amazon has been cutting elsewhere. So another round of layoffs in January. That brings the total job cuts to 30,000 about since October, roughly 10% of its corporate workforce. So you have this picture where AI is where all of the money's going. AI is also where the job risk is building. The Fed is treating AI as it's a potential disinflationary force, which makes them more comfortable staying tighter for longer, at least in terms of rates. And workers are treating AI as this job security risk, which makes them less likely to quit, more anxious, more focused on upskilling. And these companies are using AI as both a real tool and a narrative cover for restructuring and cost cuts. So that's what we got today, y'all. The job concern is back on the table, and I'm wondering what that means for rate cuts. So, the last time we looked at the CME Fed Watch tool, we were thinking that June or July was the first month we'd get a cut. Right now, yeah, June, the first cut of Waller is expected, not Chris Waller, Kevin Warsh. The first meeting of Kevin Warsh, we're expecting a cut. 50 plus 23 plus 3, so that's 28 plus 50, so 78% chance of a cut. Depending on how the data continues to come in, and especially next week, we'll be getting the next Wednesday, we'll be getting the BLS jobs report. Then the Wednesday after that, we'll get the CPI report. And those two reports alone from the BLS will be big catalysts to watch out for. So, I'll cover them here. I'll keep on covering the news every day. I've been pretty consistent for a while now. I was looking the other day, and I think I'm at like 402 videos now, which is crazy because I just started in the end of June 2025. And here I am still going. So appreciate you being here, y'all. Hope your night's awesome, and I'll see you tomorrow.